What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
If you try to harm me or my people, I will crush you so hard that you will never be able to do anything stupid again.
I'd instill terror in their hearts. I had no way of breaking the castle guard at the moment. I did, however, have my reliable buddy seal. I was certain it would find a method to defeat it. In addition, I would have no mercy on those who harmed my dear pals. I vowed to myself that I would defeat Michael no matter what.
I see. Then let us depart for the time being.
Is that okay with you, Sir Michael?
Michael nodded modestly in response to Feldway's surprised question, signaling his desire to leave.
It's too soon to tell, and we're all the same. If we fight here, it will be disastrous for both of us.
I had the same reaction. It was possible to win using the methods I just stated, but that went against my ideals as well. I couldn't deny that I was delaying the problem, but for the time being, I only wanted to buy some time.
Well, I guess we're done for the day. Should we?
Okay. Having said that, we've been presented with an unanticipated hurdle on a day when we should have been celebrating our entire resurrection. Guy Crimson was supposed to be the biggest challenge, but it turns out that this scum, who I believed was not important, is the biggest problem.
After that, Michael and Feldway left. They were probably not headed to the Empire. My spell of observation, Argus, elicited no response. Moss also reported nothing out of the ordinary.
How awful. I have no idea where they went.
Benimaru burst out laughing.
However, Sir Rimuru, as you requested, everyone is safe. Let us now rejoice and depart.
That's probably correct.
Alright, then, let's go home. I'm already tired and hungry today. Why don't we ask Shuna to cook us some excellent meals?
A banquet, huh?
That sounded good as well. I smiled and nodded at Veldora in response.
Let's have a banquet at home.
Everyone's faces lit up when I said those words. Despite the fact that we still had a lot of work to do, we were thrilled to be able to celebrate our success together. Velgrind carried on her journey. Today, yesterday, and tomorrow. She pushed herself relentlessly onward. She had left Rimuru at the moment and flown to a strange world that existed outside of time. She managed to safely reconnect with her parallel existence, which had managed to get away from Feldway, in an unidentified crevice of another world. Because there was no atmosphere or even earth in that place, Velgrind was forced to drift around aimlessly. Velgrind may have died there if she hadn't been a true dragon. She did, however, have spatial domination and an endless lifetime. Prior to arriving at the spot where she could stop, she had plenty of time to contemplate. Velgrind had nearly ceased thinking as a result of the incredible events that had occurred to her. The volume of data exceeded her processing capacity. On the other hand, she was able to gather herself thanks to the emergency of being lost in a different space. Velgrind reflected to herself. She had given up thinking at one point due to the overwhelming volume of information and its abnormalities, but now she thought for as long as she could. Then, above all else, she thought of one thing. The central question was how Velgrind had regained her independence while defying the system built by her own brother. She could only think of one person who could have made this happen. That easygoing slime, her dumb brother's ally, Demon Lord Rimuru.
How could it be that slime?
He had freely adjusted an ultimate skill, allowing Velgrind more freedom and significantly increasing her skills to a higher level. Someone with a normal ability couldn't have accomplished this.
Only my brother Veldanava could do something like that. I can't imagine another creature capable of such a thing.
The concept of the impossible made Velgrind cringe. The ultimate skill, Divine Flame King Cthulhu, reacted as she turned her attention to it. It was significantly more effective than Charity King Regule. Above all, the bits she had taken in were reacting, as though linked to Rudra's heartbeat.
It makes no difference who that slime is. Rimuru is Veldora's buddy and ally, as well as my benefactor.
She arrived to that conclusion. Velgrind finally broke free from her spinning thoughts and returned her focus to reality. Velgrind kept gathering fragments of Ruda's soul as she journeyed around the world and through time.
You have my undying love. I love you, Rudra.
Velgrind conquered every challenge with the single-minded determination to see Rudra again. Then, finally, she observed the boy in the middle of a vast city full of buildings, joy, and a strong will. Everything that was missing was in the boy's possession. If she gave him that, along with the rest of Velgrind's possessions. However, Velgrind was unsure whether she was capable of such a task. This would significantly alter the boy's fate. Velgrind, who had a limitless lifespan, was perfectly capable of remaining here and watching over the boy till his lifespan expired.
There's nothing to be concerned about. I should not be in a haste, but I do want to meet you as soon as possible.
Velgrund had this notion and was going to turn away from the boy. Then, though, a shining soul fragment spontaneously flew to the boy. Unnoticed by everyone, the soul fragment blended with the boy as though sucked in. And with that, the boy was gone from this world. The fragment of the beginning was all that was left in Velgrund's possession.
Perhaps you as well? Have you wanted to see me?
In the hopes that it was true, Velgrund addressed the fragment as though speaking to it. And then, to follow the boy's direction, she activated her Divine Flame King Cthulhu.
Volume 16 Prologue. The Breakdown of Order. Part 1.
In the other world, there was order. It is a semi-material world that overlaps the spirit and demon worlds, existing on top of the spiritual realm. A world without points of intersection. Three main forces were vying for supremacy. The phantoms, who plan to take over other dimensions. The insectars, who want to make their safe zone bigger. Then there are the cryptids, who are always engaged in combat and destruction. Although there were forces from other dimensions as well, one of these three forces obliterated them all. These three forces possessed unmatched military strength to that extent. The phantoms and insectars, two of the races, would establish a class society, with the king at the apex. Subordinate beings lacked free will and were only pawns devoted to commands. However, the cryptids are not like the others. Although they are a semi-mental organism, they have developed as nearly as feasible to a mental organism. While some of them were born normally from magicules, the most were unique individuals who separated from their parents after their birth. They bear similarities to the governing class of insectars, even though there are differences between them and beasts. They do not, however, swarm, and they are all very skilled fighters. They are incredibly aggressive and sly, despite their lack of intelligence. None of them cooperated, of course, and they each moved to take more territory in their dominance. Thus, conflicts were occurring even among the cryptids. The three forces could never coexist peacefully in the other world because of their nature. For all of eternity, the phantoms and the insectars have been at war. They united to fight the cryptids and only declared a truce when they attacked in great numbers. They constantly look for a safe haven because of this. They always have their eyes on the outside world, plotting their invasion. Of course, that was not a simple task. That long-cherished desire has not yet come true, despite having a lifespan longer than that of a human and a body that is immune to disease or injury. Firstly, there was the difficulty in finding the passageway to invade another world. Rifts in spacetime only open up for a brief period of time in the rare occurrence of a unique catastrophe, such as a spacetime oscillation, which happens only once per 1,000 years. There was no way to send out a big army in this circumstance. Sending in advance forces and allowing them to construct a base was the most they could do. There were several exceptions to this rule, though. The rifts that linked time and space were attached to the world and functioned as gates. Those were referred to as the Gate of Hell, or the Underworld Gate. This gate would make it simple to get out of the other world. However, aggressors, or the invading species, were not permitted to access that gate because it was controlled by demons. For this reason, the aggressors were vigilantly monitoring to seize it. Despite this circumstance, equilibrium was kept in place. One creature, though, was not pleased about this. That was an inherently vicious being. Feldway, the Phantom King, was his name. That animosity grew stronger and turned into a hellfire that destroyed the entire world as a result of the three-way relationship's constant recurrence. Feldway can recall. Numerous races had been born of Veldanava. Furthermore, there was a desire to keep the world going. Feldway was among the first, of all people. An angel without free choice, made to help Veldanava accomplish his goals. The greatest level of this group, the Seven Seraphim, had energy levels greater than even that of an awakened demon lord. Veldanava gave these beings names and transformed them into godlike beings known as the Seven Angels of the Origin. Feldway was the first of the seven and would go on to start the Phantom race. Feldway begot a name and a will and pledged loyalty to Veldanava. Thus, he guided the angels and served as his aide for numerous years. Consecutive new races emerged. An earthly incarnation, the Mad King of the Giants. Administrator of the stars and queen of the pixie species. The ancestors of the vampire race set out to establish a thriving civilization on Earth, from spiritual lifeforms to semi-spiritual lifeforms to physical lineages. Diversity increased in color, but eternity was lost. And lastly, interlocked in other worlds of other dimensions, humanity was formed. Optimal fertility and environmental flexibility. They were curious about the secrets of the world and had a distinct ego. Joy filled Veldanava. He felt an overwhelming affection for this frail species. For the sake of humanity, Veldanava made the decision to eradicate the menace from the world. Feldway was also given orders to use his hands to defeat a variety of demons. The final remaining individual, on the other hand, was problematic. The world-destroying dragon, Ivaraj, who would go on to rule the cryptids, was the one in question. We don't know Ivaraj's origins. Actually, no one knew where it came from. Perhaps it comes from the border of another dimension, or perhaps it comes from far, far away in space. The only certain thing about it was that it was the embodiment of misfortune. Its lack of intelligence prevented it from communicating, even if its might was comparable to that of a true dragon. Furthermore, it possessed the capacity to ultimately bring about the end of the world due to its destructive nature. It posed such a threat that Feldway was unable to take it on one-on-one. Eventually, Veldanava intervened, unable to watch the violent conflict, and Ivaraj was imprisoned in the otherworld. Feldway was tasked with keeping an eye on him. Feldway, of course, told him to murder Ivaraj before he left a bad taste in his mouth.
It's risky,
He declared. But Veldanava turned this down. Veldanava brushed the notion aside, stating that Ivaraj might grow intelligent in the future. This caused magicules to spill out of Ivaraj into the otherworld, giving rise to a new race of cryptids. As a race, the cryptids may be seen as a downgraded form of Ivaraj, and they spent their entire lives engaging in violent conflict. They had no need for food or drink, and they had no fear of dying. The true failure of God's own design. Even Feldway, a follower of Veldanava, thought them to be insignificant creatures deserving of contempt. After that, he devoted his days to getting rid of the cryptids that occasionally got out of control. Finally, something changed. One being that was both bright and determined was created out of the cryptid race, as if to validate Veldanava's statements. That being is the forefather of heresy. The event delighted Veldanava, much to Feldway's dismay. Zelanus was the name he gave the creature. The name, Zelanus, the insect lord, was born at that time. Even though Zelanus lacked Veldanava's orders, he started destroying the rogue cryptids. His innate fighting impulses were to blame for this, yet Veldanava put up with it. Zelanus eventually made insectars to act as his hands and feet. They eventually expanded to become a faction. Feldway had changed as well. The magicule he'd been exposed to over the years had changed him from a seraph to something else entirely. Feldway's angels had likewise evolved into a different race. Of the 7 primordial angels, Feldway was not the only one who had descended from the sky, the home of Veldanava, to this other realm. Zalario, Obera, and Cornu accompanied Feldway and assisted him in running the other world, while the other 3 stayed with Veldanava. A race known as the Jotun was created when these 4 pillars, Feldway among them, underwent mutations.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Coyote de Peza, Quilly Buckner, Zephyrath, Alver, Normal Defate, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Nobody0034, Dragon Spawn 666, Arijit Das, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Dijo, Mose Chaudhary. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.